You're listening to the ADHD Support Talk Radio podcast. ADHD Support Talk Radio is sponsored by ADDclasses.com. Sign up now for a free webinar at www.addclasses.com. And this is your co-host, Tara McGillicuddy.
So with that, welcome to ADHD Support Talk Radio, Laurie, or welcome back. I know you've been a guest before.
Thanks, Tara. It's great to be back.
In just a minute, we're going to be talking about how to find an ADHD coach. Mm-hmm. But before we get started talking, can you let our listeners know a bit about yourself and how they get in touch with you after today's show?
Yeah, thanks, Tara. My name's Laurie Dupar. I'm a trained psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I'm a nurse. I'm also a credentialed coach, the International Coach Federation, and the founder and director of the brand new International ADHD Coach Training Center. I've been coaching for, about 13 years. I've been doing training and mentoring for about 7 years, and then this last year I realized that it made much more sense to put it all under one roof. So we're really excited that we are going to be soon graduating our first class from the IAC Center, and we are going to be opening enrollment for our second class in March. So we're really proud of that. As a program, we're really focusing on diversity of individuals with ADHD, training coaches to be really great coaches, to be able to work with diverse ages, also to respect people's culture and understand the growth and development of ADHD, the process of change, so that they can better help their clients move from where they are to where they want to be.
Well, thank you. And what is the website for that?
Oh, absolutely. It's www.iactcenter.com.
Thanks. So, yeah, I thought you and I are going back about what to talk about today. And I said, why don't we just talk about how to find a qualified or a good ADHD coach? Because a lot of my guests who have been on over the years are coaches. So my listeners are familiar with ADHD coaching, but I don't think we've ever really discussed how to find one that's qualified, that's good, or what to look for in an ADHD coach. So where would you like to start with that, Laurie?
Well, first I want to say it's a great question because just like you, I get calls from people who, first, sometimes people haven't heard about an ADHD coach, so they're just kind of curious about it. But a lot of times what's happening is that people might have worked with a coach and who said they were an ADHD coach or had a specialty in ADHD, and they left without really getting what they needed. So they left a little bit of a sour taste in their mouth. So one of my missions, of course, is to educate people. What is an ADHD coach? How to find a good fit for you if you're looking for an ADHD coach. So that because there's coaching is about a partnership that you're working with someone that's very different than other professions. As a coach is going to meet you where you are and be able to take you and make those changes to where you want to go. If they're not trained in that, it doesn't necessarily mean that what they're doing with you isn't helpful. Certainly talking with someone, being able to share with someone, feeling like somebody's caring about you is a wonderful thing, but it may not be coaching, and that's really the point that I want to get across here, that coaching is a very specific set of skills. And I didn't understand that until I actually went from, more of a medical and therapeutic focus and went through my whole training and credentialing and certification process as a coach. It is very different. And if you want to work with an ADHD coach, a method that has now research is showing is really part of this sort of multimodal piece of people really succeeding with ADHD, you want to make sure you're working with a really well-trained ADHD coach.
Okay. And what does that mean to be well-trained? I've been hearing that for years, but what does that consist of or mean? Yeah.
I think what the first things it means is because coaching is a profession, it is regulated, which is a lot of people don't know that it is there's different regulating bodies. The longest-lasting regulating body is called the International Coach Federation, and they set the standards and ethics for coaching. A well-trained coach has gone through a program that is approved or accredited by the International Coach Federation, because the skills and competencies that those coaches learning are exactly the same, regulated by the International Coach Federation. So one of the questions that you can ask, what's a well-trained coach, is someone that is certified or credentialed by an International Coach Federation program. So that's one of the first questions to ask them. If they have, that's great, right? That's sort of like check one, that's off the list. The other is what I think you want to ask the person, how long have they been coaching? So sometimes people might have been coaching for 15 years. Coaching goes back to maybe about 25 years. But someone who's been coaching 15 years but maybe only working with 1 or 2 clients a week for 15 years is a lot different than someone who's been working for the last 5 years and has 10, 15, 20 clients a week they're working with. So I think it's important that they've been in the industry, right, have been in the industry and trained for a long time, but I think your listeners can really understand the difference between someone who's been maybe just sort of dabbling around in it for 15 years versus someone who's been working full-time as a coach for 5 years. What it has to do with sort of the depth of experience and intensity of experience that they've had. The other thing is I like to ask I encourage when people are asked, interviewing me as to be their coach, is I want to know their situation. So coming from the other side, I would tell individuals to ask that coach about their experience with your particular situation. So for instance, if you were looking for a coach for your 15-year-old son, ask them, what's your experience with working with 15-year-old adolescent boys? How do you work with them? How does that process work? Ask those questions. You have a right to ask those questions. And if you don't feel like the questions are answered the way you want, just note that and maybe ask another question, but ask them how they would specifically work with your particular, in your particular situation. It's absolutely okay to ask them at this point what the process is, how their coaching process works. Different coaches have different processes with their clients. It's okay to ask them how much they charge. Underneath all of this, I think, Tara, what typically I find that a lot of individuals may forget, because we're not always told, we sort of forget that trusting our gut instincts is one of the best ways that we can make a decision. I remind them to be listening as they're talking with this coach. What's their experience with this coach? Do they feel comfortable with them? Do they feel a connection there with them? Do they feel like there's a sense of safety, of space there, that they could work with this person? Because that's actually, I think, a big piece of creating a really effective coaching relationship.
But, what does somebody get from working with an ADHD coach? What are the changes or what are the results? Because I think some people listening still may not fully understand what an ADHD coach is or does.
Yeah, an ADHD coach, and certainly at the IX Center we train this, an ADHD coach is a life coach first. In fact, people graduate with a certificate as an ADHD life coach because you're more than just your ADHD. So we're not just going to coach you on organization or how to plan, unless that's something you want to work with. But we recognize that ADHD shows up in people's lives, not just as a separate entity. What an ADHD coach does first is they learn how to be a good coach. They learn how to ask the questions. They learn how to help you identify the goals that you have. They learn how to keep you motivated to get there. But one of the most important things I think that ADHD coaches can do is help you identify the obstacles. And oftentimes they're ADHD obstacles that perhaps have been getting in your way that you may not have even known about, that are preventing you from getting from where you are to where you want to be. It's actually one of the biggest skills I think that ADHD coaches have. They also bring into the coaching the perspective of understanding that if you set a goal for yourself and perhaps it takes, to clean a bedroom, for instance, or to organize a room, and you really believe you could get it done in a half an hour, and you come back and you weren't able even to get started on it, they're able to understand that some of the obstacles of coaching, having ADHD, is getting started. So in other types of coaching, when people who don't have the ADHD experience may see that as someone who's really not motivated, right, for a coach, or really not interested in it. As ADHD coaches, because we absolutely understand that where the ADHD obstacles and challenges come in, we can actually help you work through that. and start to recognize, and not just sort of create a Band-Aid over it, but really help you create an awareness about where these are so you can create sort of habits, rituals, information for yourself so you know from one situation to the next, this is what I need to do. For instance, with the person that had difficulty getting started on a particular task, they may recognize that that's something I do a lot, but they didn't really put that together until they worked with the ADHD coach. And the ADHD coach might have just sort of asked them about that because they recognize that that's one of the challenges. But that might also bleed into other areas of their lives where they have trouble initiating maybe getting a promotion or initiating having a conversation with somebody. So what ADHD coaches do is we help clients with the particular ADHD challenges they have and help them create the self-awareness so they can use these skills and understandings in multiple areas of their lives.
I know each coach is different, but what is a typical session like, and how long, does the average person work with an ADHD coach before they really begin seeing results?
Yeah. Most coaching actually started out, 25 years ago, and at that time, there was a model that was set out, and one of the things about coaching is it can be individualized, it can be flexible, which is a kind of unique approach. So if some clients want to work, for instance, they want to do an hour session, or that's what a coach likes to do with their clients, they can absolutely set that up. You can ask your coach. I have some clients that I work with half hour twice a week. Some clients I work with 1 hour session at the beginning of the week, and then we do 5-minute check-ins towards the end of the week, along with emails in between. Ask your coach how they maintain that communication and how they may set up that relationship with you, and know that it can be negotiated. Know that it can be negotiated because they're there to support you. Having said that, Tara, what I find is that most of the clients that I work with them about from 3 to 6 months, and there's really a reason for this. The 3 months is because when we've been struggling with ADHD, if it was that easy to fix it, our folks would have figured it out. These are smart, brilliant, bright, creative people, right? They would have figured it out. Mm-hmm. What a coach does is they come in there sort of as a partner, also with this understanding generally of how ADHD obstacles can get in the way, and help the client become aware that that's not something that's done overnight. It takes a little bit of while to sort of realize where all those pitfalls are for them. And then it takes a while, as we all know, to create new steps, new strategies, new rituals, new habits, and have them created so that they're long-lasting. There's no use in just being able to get through this one particular test at school. It's much more helpful for a student to understand, okay, what is it that's getting in the way of me performing the way that I want to do in this test, and looking at all the different pieces of it so that they can continue, even after you doing the coaching, doing well or applying those strategies. So it takes a while to uncover sort of what the problems are for each person, because each person with ADHD is very different, to create habits and then to have them continue so they become a new way of life and awareness rather than just sort of a one-off shot. I say 3 to 6 months because my goal, and nor is it of any ICF certified coach, to have a client become to enable a client, meaning that they need to meet with me every week for the rest of their lives. That doesn't sound very exciting to me, and I don't think it's useful for the coaching. So my goal is to work with a client where they are, help them to reach the goals that they have for this time being, let them go off, encourage them, support them in going off and trying these new strategies, and so that they develop the strength around them. Maybe they'll come back later. I have a lot of clients that come back 2 or 3 years later when they're taking a new step or making another change in their life. But our goal as coaches is not to enable our clients, so they need to be meeting with us for years and years. It's to empower you so that you develop the skills and awareness to be able to move forward in your life like you want to.
I think that's good that you clear that up, because it's not a quick fix. It's not like something that's going to change overnight, but it's not also something where you're going to become dependent on the coach for your entire life. So I think it's really good to clear that up, that it's 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
Let's see. Is there anything else we didn't cover today about ADHD coaching that you think is important, Laurie?
I think a couple things that are surprising to people about ADHD coaching. It's surprising to a lot of people that coaching, when it differentiated itself from really a mentoring, consulting role, really taught coaches how to coach over the phone. That was sort of their, I don't want to say claim to fame. I didn't believe it, Tara, because I was a nurse practitioner working face-to-face with people. I thought there is no way I can be able to work as effectively and help people make the changes in their life that they want to if I can't sit across from them. And in fact, beginning of my coaching work, I probably work 70% in person with people. However, what we do train you to do, and at the IX Center we train you to do this, is to actually use a different way of listening, sort of what we call between the lines listening for certain things that we just aren't necessarily paying attention to when we're visually watching somebody. So I think it surprises a lot of people that that how effective coaching can be working long distance, whether over the phone, similar to like you and I are doing on this teleclass, using some other technology like Skype, that you don't have to be in a geographic vicinity of a coach to be able to work with an ADHD coach. It also opens up for you the possibility to find a really great fit for yourself as a client.
Yes.
Remember, someone that you feel comfortable with, someone that's had experience with your situation. I also think it's important for coaches to be involved in the ADHD community in a larger way. That I would be looking for that. I want somebody who they're not just sitting in their little office and coaching. They're involved in doing other things like the expos that you do, like this particular event that you're having now. You speak at conferences, all of that kind of stuff. So they know you're involved in a much bigger way with the ADHD community. But no, that doesn't.
Yeah, and
I was going to say you don't have to work with someone locally.
I think it's great that you brought. Yeah, I was going to say that. I think it's great that you brought that up, because I have people who listen to the radio show who contact me as I want to find a coach, but I live in Australia or I live in the middle of the woods.
Yes,
and that's the thing. You can work virtually now. It used to be just the phone, but we have Skype now. We have all this different technology that. Yes. You can work with a coach from anywhere in the world, since most of it is done virtually. So I'm really glad you cleared that up.
Yeah, it is. And one of the things just like you, I've worked with people all over the world. We have a lot of technology to support the time difference, right? That's the biggest problem, I think, for me, is trying to adjust the time. So I now have a system that does that for me. But it also means that you can get trained, that we know people with ADHD are all over the world. This is not just localized to the United States, right? ADHD doesn't discriminate of gender, age, ethnicity, any of that stuff. So it also means that you can train to be an ADHD coach, if you're interested in that, from anywhere in the world, and take this into your communities. That's what I'm really excited about, how we're doing our trainings. You can take this into your communities. It's the same technology that we do now to meet clients one-on-one, but you can also do training this particular way, and then take it to your community and help individuals with their ADHD challenges.
Yeah, and that's another question that I always get, too, is how do I become an ADHD coach?
Right. Yeah.
And, I've been involved in the community for almost 20 years, so I think it's great to have a new training that you're doing, and you're someone who understands ADHD. You're an expert in ADHD and coaching. Yeah. So I'm really glad to be able to let people know about your resource.
Yeah. And in fact, Tara, most people who become coaches have either had ADHD themselves or love someone with ADHD. And they have a very strong desire to help other people not struggle as much. In fact, people want to go to that website, that www.ixcenter.com. We actually have a little assessment. It says, are you ready to be an ADHD coach? So people can go through, and I've really created this assessment based on what I found over my years of training coaches that really were passionate about what they did, really committed to what they did, and looked for certain qualities, and it sort of gives you an idea. Do you have what it takes to be an ADHD coach? And I really believe coaching is a calling. I believe that even if we have had no idea of what it was before, people now are just finding out about coaching or just working with a coach, but there's something that's saying to you, gosh, I want to do this, which is really what I hear from people, that's probably the third, that they just have a knowing. This is what I want to do. I want to do this. I don't know how, but I want to do it. And we can help you how.
Okay. So, Laurie, we are actually at the end of today's show. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave people with? And could you make sure you give out your contact information once again?
Yeah. Again, I just want to remind you, when you're looking for an ADHD coach, you get to choose the coach, right? You get to partner with this coach. Pick someone that you're comfortable with. Make sure that they are well-trained, that they have credentialing or certification through an International Coach Federation approved program. Ask them about their background, their experience. Ask them about what kind of clients they work with, how their coaching process works. And at the end, trust your gut of, do you feel comfortable with this person? Do you feel a connection with them? Do you feel safe with them? And if that's true, you might want to get started with that coach. And always remember that you can change if it's not a good fit, all right? You as a client are always at choice with regards to this.
Okay. Thank you so much, Larie Dupar. Oh, sorry, did you give out your contact information?
Oh, no, you can contact me. You can go to the Training Center website at www.iactcenter.com.
Okay, thank you so much, Larie Dupar. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Be sure to stop by our website, ADHD Support Talk.com.